Okay. I have a few people in the participants list. I'm gonna give maybe another couple minutes for folks to trickle in.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I think we can get started. So thank you, everybody, for coming to our first, I'll say our first academic sort of event of Black Space Week so far. Yesterday was our mixer kind of opening event, but this is going to be our first sort of academic event. I'm really excited about this one. So I'm Keyshawn Ivory. I'm the events director of Black and Astro. A lot of my Black and Astro counterparts are representing us very well at our in-person event in DC right now, but I sort of jumped at the chance to moderate this discussion because I was excited to hear from this wonderful group of Hubble Fellows that we have that I'm fortunate enough to call my friends also. So with that, if we could just have each panelist give us your name, pronouns if you'd like to share, and then let's just say your institution and your position. We'll get more into like what you do specifically later, but we'll start there. In any order is fine.
I'm happy to go first. I do just want to, I see this question saying they can't see you, Kishan, in the Q&A, and I just want to make sure that was addressed.
Oh, we can't see me.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. I have video on. That's weird. Um, hold on.
Oh, they can see me though when I talk. Oh, maybe because it goes back and forth by who's
The
speaking.
person I see, I see. Well, you'll be speaking most of the time. I think
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay. Cool. Well, hi everyone. I'm Sinclaire. I'm finishing up my third year now as a Hubble Fellow, postdoc at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. And yeah, very excited to be here and chat with y'all and see my lovely fellow panelists here. Oh, pronouns are she, her. Sorry.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Arianna Long. I am finishing up my Hubble Fellowship at UT Austin in Texas, and I'll be starting as a faculty at the University of Washington in Seattle this fall. And I use she, they pronouns. And I think that was all.
And hi, everyone. So I am Kiersten Boley, and I'm an upcoming Hubble Fellow, so I'm the most junior of all of you. And I will be at Carnegie Earth and Planets Laboratory in the fall. And my pronouns are she, her.
Awesome. Okay, I think maybe I fixed the issue with seeing me or not. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I really wanted to organize this panel in kind of a chronological sort of order from past into the present and then into the future. So I'm going to start with sort of the past. And so a large part of when I think of these sort of like prize fellowships and these big, amazing awards is, in my opinion, having sort of the confidence to know that it's something that you can do. And so I want to ask, what are some formative research experiences? I'll start there, academic experiences that have helped you to develop your current science identity.
I can start. Um, I think that for me, it's kind of been a bit weird because I stumbled into astronomy and I didn't even plan to go to grad school when I started out. I thought that I was going to just go to undergrad, get an engineering degree, and then make some money. Because I'm first gen. And so I was just like, I don't want to pay for a degree and then not have money afterwards. But I ended up doing research with Dr. Will Dawson. He's at Lawrence Livermore. And at that point, I was like, oh, wait a second, you can get a job doing this thing. That's kind of fun. And so I think that that research experience was really positive because, first of all, he was a great mentor. He still is a great mentor. And, kind of instilling that if you want to do this, you can definitely do it, and you should go after the opportunities that kind of present themselves to you. And then, after getting into grad school, I think, meeting the like Black in physics community, that was actually really huge for me too, because, everyone was like, hey, you should, apply for this, or, you can do that. And kind of that uplifting environment really helped in terms of even research. So I think that those experiences kind of helped me find my voice to stand up for myself. And those people were like, no, you should, you should pursue whatever research or whatnot you want to do, and you can do it. So those were, you know, my experiences that I feel like made me have the confidence to be like, yeah, I can apply. And I think that, I might not get it, but worth trying, right?
For sure. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I can. It's very fun waiting to see who speaks first. Yeah, similarly to what Kiersten was saying, I didn't, go into undergrad even knowing about astronomy and that was a possibility. I went in as a chemistry major. The only thing I actually knew I wanted to do going to college was study abroad and live in another country. But so yeah, I switched to physics my sophomore year, all because I went and saw a talk in the physics department from a visiting astronomer who talked about galaxy formation and evolution. And then at the very end mentioned that they had opportunities for undergrads to do research through the National Radio Astronomy Observatory in Charlottesville, Virginia. And so I just went up and talked to him afterwards. And he's been essentially my longest standing mentor to this day. Still talk to him all the time. Still writes me letters of rec, like all that jazz. So I think a common theme that will probably come up throughout today and all these talks of like how we get to where we are is mentorship playing such a huge role, and just having that even one person telling you what's possible, and saying that you absolutely are capable of doing it. But yeah, and then I was fortunate to have other these research experience for undergraduates throughout my summers, because that was really my only research experience. And then I'd say also just going, after getting to grad school, going to my first specialized conference and like actually getting a feel of what the community's like and what, being an astronomer is like outside of the school side of it, and getting the degree was really interesting. Just be like, oh, this is kind of what your day-to-day life could be. Again, tying back into the wanting to travel a lot. We have conferences in really great places. And then I'll just say, going to my first conference that actually Arianna was also at. So I was no longer the only Black person in the room. Was really incredible. And just being like, oh, this is the future. This is possible. And that just kind of like joy of not feeling so isolated anymore was really fantastic, and kind of like encourages you to keep going and keep staying.
Absolutely. Fully agree with that.
Yeah, I very similar to what Kiersten and Sinclaire said. I'll focus, I guess, a little bit on my path as well. I did my undergrad degree. I originally went to school to be a math educator. There are no scientists in my family. And I think my grandma did like one semester of college. So not a lot of higher education, and most people in my family were teachers, and there's a strong precedent for that, being a teacher or an artist in my family. And so that was kind of the path that I had envisioned for myself. And then I got there, and teaching is great, but it was similar. I took an astronomy class and I was like, oh my God, like world was blown wide open. And I remember going to the professor at the end of class and told him, I was like, how do I get into this? This is like the only thing that's ever actually made me excited. And he said, don't do it. There aren't a lot of jobs. There's no job security, which I find very funny and very true. So I didn't do it. I actually switched my degree to math because I knew I wanted to be in some sort of science. And then I graduated. I had like a tiny little bit of research experience, but again, I didn't even know that was a thing to try to pursue. I was the only Black person in my entire department of math, and like one of like 2 or 3 women. And so no one was really looking out for me. And then I went and worked in business, which was terrible. No shade to anybody who likes it, but it was horrible. And like the pay is good. I just like could not care about the work. And then but I was surrounded by all these people kind of pursuing their dreams. I had moved to LA at the time, and I was around a lot of artists, and I was really inspired by that. And so I ended up applying for the now defunct, unfortunately, Cal State LA NASA Bridge program, which was essentially to help people get masters and get research experience to go and apply for PhDs in STEM fields related to space. And through that, I think the thing that, as Sinclaire said, is going to keep coming up, I just had so much community and mentorship. It was the first space, Cal State LA, where most of my peers were like, we shared identities. Most of us were people of color, and it was incredible and wonderful. And I didn't realize how much my learning in general was hindered by not feeling community, because once I was there, I just thrived. And then same thing for my PhD at Irvine. I ended up finding a really great community of other graduate students of color. And we celebrate everything together. It was really, really wonderful. And then as far as like research specifically in terms of projects, for me, it was the most formative experience was probably just working with different people as advisors. So I had my PhD advisor, I had my master's advisor, and then I also did like a kind of internship with another person. And some of y'all I know, like through your grad programs, are kind of like required to do that. And some of y'all may not even have known that was an option. I didn't know it was an option. So definitely look into that if that's something you want. or curious about, because for me, that allowed me to see the different types of research that happen, not just the topics, stars, galaxies, whatever, but really the kind of styles. There's so much more than just theory and observations. There's, intense case studies, there's big data statistics, there's numerical models that even as an observer you can build. And so lots of different kind of ways of approaching science helped me realize and pick and choose what my personal style was. And I think had I not done that, to be honest, I don't think I would be here, both from a success point and also from a personal standpoint. I don't, if I just stuck with one research style the entire time, I was not fulfilled in that way. So getting lots of different experiences and being kind of aggressive about that, I think was really transformative for me.
Thank you for that. And as someone who did a bridge program myself, I did the Fisk Vanderbilt bridge program, is how I got my master's. I really resonate with that, being in a class with people that I actually want to hang out with outside of class really changed the way that I learned astronomy and physics, for sure. And going off of this, actually, I'd really love to give you all a space to reflect more on the kind of personal side of what we're talking about. So this dovetails very neatly with what we were just talking about. But in the development of that science identity, when you are a marginalized person, you're in a society that kind of tells you that you actually don't belong, and that makes it actively more difficult to really build up this identity. So I would love to give you space to talk more about personal experiences, not just academic ones, but life experiences that helped you to develop your identity, either as a scientist or just as a human being who does science.
I can go first again. I grew up broke. Our family was straight up broke. We had those food stamps and all of that. And basically, I think it led to some really fun and interesting experiences, which basically ended up building this identity of a problem solver. So my mom, she is the most, I don't know, quick-witted woman that I have ever met. Doesn't have, she didn't until, maybe a couple of years ago, she went to school and got a degree, which super proud of her. But up until this point, growing up, didn't have a degree. She was just super quick, super smart. She knew how to problem solve. If there was a problem, we were going to fix it, or we were going to figure out how to fix it if we didn't know how to do it, or come up with some sort of creative solution. And I think having those experiences, plus the fact of, as someone that's broke, things break all the time, and you can't do the most convenient way to fix the thing, right? So if your car breaks, you can usually take it to a mechanic if you've got enough money. Well, if you don't have enough money, you better figure out how to fix it, right? So, or else you're going to be without a car. And then if you're out without a car, you better figure out how you're going to get to A to Z without that. And so there were several times where stuff like that would come up, and we would basically kind of rig something up to where it would work. And it was a lot of fun. And I have so many just really pleasant memories from growing up and fixing things and figuring stuff out. And, even down to the first car that I bought, it was this absolute, I don't know. I love that car, but I bought it for $800. I found $5 in under the seat somewhere. So I got a $5 rebate on this thing. And it was, she got me to from A to Z. She did her best. But I'm not gonna lie to you, that car broke regularly. So it was a whole thing of fixing this stuff up and having fond memories with that. And at some point I realized that I was smart, You know, like I didn't think of myself like that. That wasn't the community that I grew up in. People, you know, I don't know. It's not that I don't think that my community was smart. I think that they were, but I didn't think that I was academically smart. You know what I mean? Like I saw them as two different things. And then at some point, my mom, she was actually the one that was like, why don't you go and try being an engineer or whatever. I heard this from someone else. And so I was like, you know, I looked into it. I was like, yeah, this could be a good thing. And I feel like basically those experiences of how I grew up was actually built my science identity before I ever got really into you know, the academic side. I mean, I never thought that I was terrible at math or anything or anything like that, but I think that, you know, not feeling like I was terrible at it, and then, you know, my mom encouraging me and problem solving. I thought that that was, you know, kind of what built it and got me there.
I love that.
We can keep going in the same order. Yeah, so I give a lot of credit to Howard University, my undergrad alma mater, historically Black university. You know, you're talking about confidence and building that up. I built up so much confidence at Howard for exactly what you were talking about, like just being able to be a student and not the Black student. You know, I'm just a person who's interested in physics now and have the freedom to explore that and not worry about having like my guard up all the time, proving that I can be there in that space. And so that carried me through today, you know, and will continue to carry me through in the future for sure. And just like being able to walk into a room and kind of care a bit less about what other people are thinking, right? So shout out to Howard. It has its issues, but I love that place. And then I'll say, so I'm a little sister. I have an older brother, and I very much played the role of little sister tagging along and wanting to do everything that he was doing, and you know, showing that I could do it too. So he was actually the first person in our family to get a PhD in sociology. And so, you know, I'm very different fields, but I was like, if he can get a PhD, I can get my PhD too. I can't let him outdo me like that. Not to say it was this pure competition, but it was pure support, basically. And having someone that, you know, went through grad school 3 years before I did and could help me navigate that was so helpful. And yeah, just building these different support structures throughout your life, whether they're from family or friends or mentors, is just so important. And then I guess I'll just throw in my parents too. My mom also was a teacher, middle school teacher. I don't know how you do that job, but she middle school teacher for over 30 years. So I did not have the option of being a bad student, you know? It was like, you're getting these A's and you're coming home and you're not getting in trouble and the teacher's always right. So that was very much my mindset in school. And so, you know, thinking about seeing so many students be like, oh, I'm not a math person or I'm not a science person. And it's like, I didn't have that. There was never that space to even go in my head of like, you don't have to like it, but you got to be decent at it, right? At least get the grades and come home. But so that's something that I think about a lot dealing with students now too, of like making sure they never feel that like doubt that, oh, I'm not this kind of person. It's like, you're whatever kind of person you want to be. So yeah, shout out to the parents, shout out to my brother.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I relate in both contexts. I also grew up poor. And for most of my life, I was actually pretty alone. My mom wasn't really around. And I didn't really have other parent figures up until like high school. And so and even then, even though I was like kind of taken in by other family members, I was still largely kind of expected to figure things out on my own. And obviously you can't go back and like give yourself that childhood, and I wouldn't recommend it. But it did build a lot of independence and tenacity because I had no choice. I had to find a way to make it work. And it really, I think it benefits me in some ways. It also did not in many ways, because by the time I got to grad school, I had built this whole, I'm independent, I don't need anybody, I'll get by on my own merit kind of mentality. And that's just not how the world works. Whether or not you believe in a meritocracy, it doesn't exist. And then on top of that, you need community. And so it took me a really long time to actually figure that out and realize that needing help is not a weakness. And you're in grad school to learn and grow. So it took me a few years to figure that out. I had friends, but I just didn't understand how to like really lean on that community. And then I think like I have lots of mentors. I'm really into like having this huge mentor network. But there are three people I think about, specifically, Keyshawn, when you sent these questions that really popped out. And let me be clear, like some of these people were mentors I saw multiple times a week, and some were people that I talked to once or twice a year at most. And I have three names that I wanted to share insights with. So the first is Aomoah Shields, who's a Black woman exoplanet scientist. She got hired at UC Irvine, where I got my PhD the same year I joined. And so I got to watch her navigate this entire system the same year that I started. And the thing is she was so fierce at protecting her time and also making sure that she can be a excellent scientist, but in a sustainable way, that it was just this incredible example that was set that just basically showed that you can be successful on your own terms. Because so many other people and in general, there's this culture in academia that you just have to like sacrifice all areas of your life and well-being to be successful. And she absolutely rejected that. And so seeing someone reject that and also be so successful really kind of instilled in me like that some of the advice I was getting maybe should just go out the other ear. The second person is Jedidah Eisler, who is a Black woman astrophysicist who started Vanguard STEM or founded Vanguard STEM, but has been in the White House for the Office of Science and Technology Policy for a minute. She came out and visited, and I had talked to her about when I was considering postdocs and things like that, and I'd gotten advice from a lot of local mentors to like really shoot for Ivy Leagues and like big names and like all this like elitism stuff. And I was like, it just doesn't sound right. And I had this other faculty who like really cared about me and was investing in my success, who wanted me to come postdoc with them, but maybe wasn't at like some big prestigious Ivy League. And she had said, and I really, again, never forgot this. She said, do you think that you could do your best work in a place where you're happy and supported and celebrated, or in a place where maybe, you have like this fancy name attached to you, but you have no community and no support? So that was something that I've always thought about, that maybe the title doesn't matter as much as where I can actually go and be celebrated, because that's where I'll grow the most. And then the last person is Franklin Dollar, who is an indigenous physicist, plasma physicist at UC Irvine. And he was just wonderful. He was the one I talked to all the time. And the thing that he taught me that will come up later in some of the questions is to focus way more on amplifying your strengths than trying to always bolster your weaknesses. I feel like, there's so many, when you look at your peers or like people, a few steps ahead of you, you write down all the things, or you take note of all the things that they did to become successful. And suddenly you have this huge list of things that you don't have. And then you try to address each one, and maybe you increment each one by a little bit. But the reality is it's your strengths that make you unique and that make you shine. And if you focus on maybe celebrating and really leaning into those a lot more, you'll probably be more successful, more happy, and feel more authentic in wherever you show up. And so those are the three kind of things that I think about all the time. I'll probably refer to them later on in other questions. But yeah, those three people, if I had not met them and if I had not heard those words, I don't think I'd be here.
That was a word. That last one. Wow. Okay. That I'm gonna sit with that one for a while. Thank you for that. Wow. Okay. So moving from the past into the present, this panel, the theme is kind of talking about the Hubble Fellowship. So I would love for each of you to kind of talk us through the process of applying to that, any things that you would recommend to avoid, pitfalls, things like that for anybody who might be listening and aiming for these fellowships and these big awards.
It is fresh on my mind.
Oh yeah, of course. Go for it.
So yeah, so I think with the Hubble and I think with postdoc applications in general, I think the longer you have to kind of think about what you're planning to propose, what you want to do moving forward, and then actually put that on paper and then send it around to people that you trust and you value their opinion, I think that it can only help you, even if, for example, someone says, you end up getting contradictory things because, for example, for the Hubble panel, you'll end up having a lot of different people from different backgrounds. Yes, you will have, people that are within your subfield read your like whether or not it has technical chops, but in terms of that, then it goes to a higher panel, which is broader, which is my understanding. And so that means that not only do you have to have the experts in your field think that your proposal is good and think that your research is good, but you have to have people outside of your field think that it is good as well. So one of the things that I ended up doing was, and in retrospect, I would have done it earlier, but I feel like everyone says that, I would never tell anyone not to start sooner, start as soon as you want. I started thinking about kind of the proposal and the route that I wanted to go, pretty early on. One of my advisors, she's phenomenal. She's been one of the greatest mentors that I've had. She asked me a simple question of what do you want to be at, like, when you grow up, essentially as a scientist? Who do you want to be? Like, what do you want to be known for? And I was like, oh, that's easy. I want to be known as blah, blah, blah. And so after I had an answer to that question, then I started crafting, okay, what do I actually want to do? And what are some questions that interest me? And so from there, I wrote that down and, I sent it around to, first of all, my advisors. I had 3. So, that's probably a lot more, maybe that's normal. I don't know. It seems like a lot to me. 3 advisors. So they read it. Then, postdocs that were in the group, I sent it to them. And then from there, people outside of, outside of exoplanets, since I do exoplanets. And they all had very different comments. And I don't think that I had any that were contradictory or any way. I could see how you could get that, but I basically was able to incorporate them. One of the things that, even if someone doesn't understand it, or it's like they clearly didn't read X part, like this earlier part, one of the things that I've also learned from this is that even like in a referee report for a paper or whatnot, every comment is worth addressing, because it means that even if their comment is technically like, oh, well, you didn't read this part, well, I can probably make it more clear, because the person, whoever is reading it, if someone missed it, that means that another person might also miss whatever information that they needed to understand this other part that they clearly didn't understand. So that is, a couple of things on the lead up into it. And then, for Hubble, when you're actually going through the application process, there's a couple of additional things that you need outside of other applications. So you specifically specify where you want to take the Hubble, in order of, you rank it from, 1 to 3, I think, or maybe 5. I don't remember exactly how many options, but you at least have 3. And you put those your first, second, and third choice. And so you have to think about, where would you like to go? One of the things that I would recommend is reaching out to potentially to do a talk or whatnot at the location that you want to go to beforehand. Just as a general thing, even for their internal postdoc applications as well. Because oftentimes, sometimes they'll have money to support you, sometimes they won't. But oftentimes, if you ask them early enough, most of the time they'll let you give a talk. And it's really good in order to make connections with those people and get them interested in what you're doing and have a conversation. And also they might be able to help you in, either reading your proposal or, those sorts of things. And then, aside from that, you've got to make sure that, it basically you've got 8 pages and whatnot, but I'll stop for now and let you guys comment because I've been rambling a bit. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the start early thing is do as I say, not as I do. But Hubble is one of the earlier deadlines too. I think NSF is maybe only earlier than it. So yeah, you gotta get going on it. And actually it helped me because I applied for a European postdoc that was actually due in August. And it's twice as long as the Hubble. So is the Marie Curie, if anyone's familiar with that. And yeah, that one was crazy. So I had so much text already prepared, and it was just a matter of them paring it down. But yeah, I also had, I think, 3 examples of proposals that had been accepted by former Hubbles. And so I was able to look at theirs and get a sense of, the structure and how they're written, the kind of language used in them. In terms of like, you have to pick your institute. I think you should be pretty thoughtful about that. There are rules of how many Hubbles are allowed at a single institution at any given time. And so if you apply just because, it's an Ivy League and you think it's great and they are full already, you're automatically can't go there. And so also, Kiersten, I feel like when I applied, I only put UMass and I didn't have a list of alternatives. So I don't know if maybe obviously it must be to help with like this issue of if you select a place that has other people going there. But I think though, not just being, blinded by the name and picking a place that really is the best fit in terms of your research, in terms of the people that are there, whatever resources that they already have, can absolutely go in your favor, which I think it did for me. I was very specific about why UMass was the right place and how I would get involved in the department here. The other thing I'll just say, kind of going back to Arianna's great point about talking about your strengths, is you got to get comfortable kind of bragging on yourself. It's a lot of it's all I statements, right? It's everything you've done in the past leading up to now in terms of your research accomplishments and everything you plan on doing. And I know it's a little uncomfortable sometimes to be like, I've done all these things and I'm so great, but you are. So you got to own it. And yeah, and I mean, it's true for any kind of future grants, future applications of any kind. You gotta, rate yourself. So definitely don't downplay any of the stuff you've been doing.
Yeah, Yeah, I did have to list institutions. I chose not to. I just picked my number one, and I almost didn't get it because not only do they not let you take it if it's full, but they will let you know that even though you won the Hubble, you were ranked below someone else who also won, who selected the same institution. And yeah, as if it matters, but they will let you know. And so I had to wait to hope and pray that someone who was already at the institution who won wanted to take it elsewhere. And thankfully they did, because I didn't really want to go anywhere else. But yeah, they did ask for rankings. I just gave one. What else? I don't want to repeat too much of what folks have said, but I think like related to speaking on strengths, I have like a couple points about that. One, if you don't know what your strengths are, that's totally fine. I went around like maybe a year before applying and actually just like asked my peers, asked my mentors, asked my advisors what they thought my strengths were, and then kind of like collated it. And, you know, some of them I disagree or I'm like, I don't see myself that way, but it did help me gain some insight, and put language to some things that I didn't quite know about myself. One of those things is one of my greatest skills is I can kind of pull together seemingly disparate topics, to answer some research question or carve out a new space. I had multiple mentors tell me that, and I was like, I didn't realize I'm really good at that. So I leaned really hard into that, and I was able to use that language while bragging on myself. It kind of applied to my science, it applied to proposal writing. And then also, Sinclaire, I don't think this was true the year you applied, but the year I applied and now on, they have this little section now called Evidence for Leadership. Was that there for you?
No.
Yeah. So it's like an ambiguous section. And I use that section and my general application to really brag on things that like maybe it wouldn't come to mind to brag on. So for example, I didn't have you know, a bajillion papers. I had just a couple, and the only thing I could really like think about with them, and I went through them, I was like looking at where they got cited, and it turns out that both of my papers had been cited in like other review papers. And one of them also was like a simulator community went and tried to see if they could find the unique object I was studying in their simulations. And so what did I do? I went into my application and I said, you know, you can tell that my work is impactful because it's cited by reviews and simulators really wanted to understand that thing. So you can like find a way to make your strengths and your work stand out, without 1,000 citations and 1,000 papers and, you know, all these like great accolades or whatever. So really trying to be creative in all the ways that like you and your work has been impactful. Also, if you work with students, they like seeing that. I wrote on there that I had helped students write some papers. They love that. And so that was really helpful. And then related again to leaning on your strengths. One of my strengths, other than the other one I mentioned, is storytelling. I like telling a good story. I work really hard on my papers to try to build a narrative. I like science communication. I like public speaking. And so again, knowing that I didn't have a bunch of successful telescope proposals under my belt or 1,000 papers, I leaned really hard on making like a really captivating story as much as I could, because that was my skill. And because that's my skill and because of the way my brain works, I had to start working. I think I started ideating around it in the summer prior to the application. And then I really started building my story probably towards the end of the summer, early fall. And I even did a little cartoon when I was like so burnt out from writing. I sat down with my iPad and drew a diagram that I wanted to include. I noticed a lot of other applications that one had cartoon-like diagrams, so I figured I would kind of pass some time and get some creative outlet in that way. But then by the time I finished writing it, I think just like Kiersten, I sent it to I think about 10 people in total, including people outside of my area of research. And I think that was really, really helpful. I did get some conflicting feedback, but again, it helped me see where there was miscommunication, where I could bold a sentence here if people really missed it, and things like that. So really kind of, you gotta kind of like shove down your cringe and your ego and really ask people, your closest circle, what they think your strengths are, and then also ask them for feedback and criticism. Both things are very hard to do, just intellectually and emotionally speaking. And so just being able to kind of swallow it for this process and really going into it thinking like, I'm just trying to do the best that I can. And I know that my community is there for me. Just kind of remind yourself of that. I think it would be helpful.
I really hope these are some gold nuggets from award-winning folks. So I hope that when we upload this to the Black and Astro YouTube, I hope people really come back to this during like application season. So I'm going to open it up to the future now. We talked about past, present. While I'm asking this future theme question to the audience, go ahead, drop questions in Q&A because we're going to open up to audience questions. I just want to know briefly, what's next for everybody here? What are you going to do in the fall? What's your next research direction, your next personal direction? What hobbies you're going to pick up? Just what's next for y'all?
Yes, since we're going in order, I am doing absolutely nothing until I start. Okay, that's not exactly true. I'm finishing up a couple of things, a couple of papers, and whatnot, but I'm going to try and take off. I specifically decided to start a few months later so that I could have some time to decompress before getting in. Fortunately, I have a partner, and he can support the apartment for a couple of months, and happy to do that. So I'm excited to do that, but other than that, I think that I'm really excited to actually do the work that I proposed, as straightforward as that is, because in some ways it's one of the things that I really enjoy is some of the theory work that I do, and um and it's like one of those love-hate relationships where you have to bang your head up against a wall a few times, and then when it works, it's so good. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to start doing some of that. And then also I'm really excited to, you know, become part of this new basically institution, and it seems like a lovely place, and get to know the postdocs there and the staff scientists there and really learn from them, and kind of spread my wings in that area, but also be able to kind of do a lot of um, DEI work. So Carnegie, which I guess I didn't say. So one of the things that I will be doing, because of this ranking system, I actually got my first pick, my top pick. But then after visiting all of these places, after applications were due, I decided, no, wait, I think I want the other place to be my top pick, which is the other Carnegie location. So it's literally the same institution, different location. So it's the same place, but so I'll be at Carnegie EPL in DC for a year, and then I'm going to go over to Carnegie Observatories, which is something that you can also do as part of the program. You can change institutions, and I don't know that they advertise it that well, but you can change institutions, and I'm going to be doing that because also Carnegie Observatories offered me another fellowship, so I'll be able to stay there for longer. But over there, they have this great program. I think California has all of these great programs for basically black and brown students, but they combined with do research with community college students, which is something that I'm really passionate about as someone I went to community college as well. So, and then also they do a lot of stuff with, you know, public schools around the area that don't really have that much access to STEM. So doing those things, which those schools are also predominantly Black and brown students, and yeah. So anyway, those are the things that I'm excited about.
Let's see, science-wise, professionally, yeah, I've got wrapping up a paper right now. I'm gonna try and write a cute little letter, which is a shorter paper, with the rest of my summer. We'll see how that goes. And then I I guess I did something right here at UMass because they actually offered me internally through some internal hire line that they had a tenure track job. So I accepted that. And so I'll be starting, I negotiated to have a 4th year of postdoc to kind of bolster up my research a little bit more and get settled. And then in fall 2025, I'll start as an assistant professor. Yeah. So getting ready for that is going to take up a lot of my time. And Arianna, I can't wait to see how it goes with you this fall. And I'm so happy that I'll be able to talk to you about it. Yeah, let's see. Outside of that, my like pet project for the summer. So basically, it seems like it's a kind of common around many institutions of like coming back post-pandemic. I'll say that in quotes. You know, a lot of places are struggling still to like have that community and feel like things were how they were before, right? And so I've been talking a lot with the grad students here, you know, what we can do to try and make people feel more connected and feel like, you know, our department is a cool place to be, that people want to be, and we like hanging out with each other. So with a committee of grad students, I'm organizing a new Astronomy on Tap satellite here in the Western Massachusetts area. So we're hoping to have our first show sometime in the fall and have that be a monthly recurring thing. If you don't know what Astronomy on Tap is, go check it out, but it's essentially a public outreach thing where you give talks to the public and host these very fun events to expose people to various astronomy topics. And I was involved in that at UT Austin, where I did my graduate degree for many years there. So I love it. And so I'm excited to bring it here and try and engage more with the public as well, because we seem at the moment pretty disconnected from the wider population, and we know they're interested in astronomy and want to connect more with them. So yeah, those are the big things on my plate at the moment.
For those of you who don't know, Sinclaire and I do like adjacent research and similar research, and it's so nice because I don't know what y'all got going on in exoplanets. You have so many people, black and brown people, and galaxies is lacking. So come hang out with us. We're here. But it's been so wonderful actually being at conferences and similar career levels as Sinclaire. Things I'm looking forward to research wise. So yeah, I am starting my faculty job. I do have a couple of grad students already. And so my main focus with research is to kind of wrap up a couple of catalogs that a lot of science will be done with. So that way it's ready for my students and potentially a future postdoc or something like that. But also resting. So the other wonderful thing about independent fellowships is you can do whatever you want. And so there have been times during my time on this fellowship, I've taken just 6 weeks off just to do nothing, get my life together, like just resting. Don't get me wrong, I'm hustling otherwise, but the beauty of the independence is, yeah, you can totally do whatever you want. You're not beholden to anyone. And so in addition to, I'll be wrapping up those projects, like for sure, definitely in the fall, but I'm actually smack in the middle of a move to Seattle right now. I'm in an Airbnb as we speak. And so personally, I'm looking forward to settling in a new city and just kind of chilling out. And then like relaxing and like actually enjoying the city rather than just hopping into working 24/7. So that is my future plan.
I'm happy to hear people are taking breaks, taking time off. In large scale, I'm a large scale structure person in a gravitational wave department. It is really just me and the Hubble constant are just out here, just figuring it out. So I get you on that. Okay, so I'm going to move to audience questions. I've found ways to kind of combine some of the questions along similar lines because we do have 5:30 Eastern as our kind of hard stop. So I want to make sure I can address as many as possible. So our first couple questions are about papers. So we have someone who asks, on average, how many papers are required to be published to be accepted into the postdoc? Is it around 3 papers on average, or is it dependent on the type or impact on past research? Similarly, we have a question from Caprice who asks if you felt that you didn't have many papers in the science that you were trying to do for your postdoc. How did you work to build that in or show the confidence that you had the skill set to do that work?
Are we just like hopping in?
Oh yeah, this is don't feel like you all have to answer. This is like totally popcorn.
Okay, I'll popcorn in really quickly. Number of papers. So I feel that neurospicy brain, what's the equation? Like, what do I got to hit to be successful? I really struggled with that in grad school, and there is no number. People have gotten postdocs and prize postdocs with 0 papers. People have done it with 10 papers. The thing is if you're applying to like a general postdoc and it says, there's a paper threshold, which I've never actually explicitly seen. Or if you get rejected because of that, that's probably not where you want to go, because that's probably not going to be one of your biggest strengths, and you're probably not going to be supported beyond a paper making machine, which some people are excellent at being. I am not one of them, so that was never my thing. So number of papers is not really a thing. Everyone will probably tell you you want 3 to 4 to 5, depending on what it is. I had 2 and 1 in the pipeline when I applied. So that was my number. And the second question was about, like adding in new research or something like that. I did do that. I basically focused my application. In the Hubble, you do prior research and then your plan. So you get to talk about your prior research and set the stage for like, here's all the stuff I've done and the skills that I've learned from that. And then later on, when you're in your proposed research, you can very easily say, I'm going to use this skill and apply it on this new research area. And it's actually pretty common. There's actually quite a few Hubble Fellows and NSF people, and just in general, who've done completely like orthogonal research pivots with their postdoc applications. You just have to map your skills as best as you can. And maybe if you can find a little bit of a connection with your current research, just to like build a narrative in there, that can be helpful. But it really comes down to just selling that you have the skills to be successful regardless of the nature of the body that you're studying.
Yeah, happy to add on. I had 1 paper and 1 submitted. And I was fully ready to stay a 7th year in grad school because of that too. Because I've seen, what people have or whatever and what I didn't. And so I, applying for postdocs was like, well, I should do it because it's my 6th year, right? and I would like to get out of here if I can, with no expectation of getting accepted for anything based on my paper count alone. And so then when it happened, I was like, oh crap, okay, we're doing this, it's happening. So yeah, the paper count, maybe not that big of a deal. And you try not to stake all your self-worth on. I mean, don't do that. Do not put any stake in that of how good of a scientist you are, how good of a researcher you are. Yeah, they want to see that you have a plan, that you have you're able to think about these complex problems and address how you plan to solve them. Also, yeah, like a lot of my proposal was to work with the telescope that UMass has access to. I have not seen any data from that telescope yet for many reasons, but that's the joys of being an observer. So yeah, you don't have to stick to what you wrote, and they don't, take back the money, right? It's still, you just kind of pivot and do some other stuff with it. So yeah, I know it's really easy to get wrapped up in paper count. I'm actively working to not be that way. Ongoing struggle, but yeah, you don't need 10 papers. You don't.
Just to give some more numbers, I know 4 papers. I've heard that a lot in grad school. I don't know where that came from, but 4 papers. I also didn't have 4 papers, and I had 2 published papers and 1 submitted one. And the bulk of my research that I proposed for was, I only had 1 paper that I had published that was specifically like towards that route. So I think that I actually did what Arianna kind of mentioned, was focused on, I have these skills, these are the things that I know, and this is why I can do it. So I also think that papers probably don't matter that much. I mean, it, like, I've heard people, well, I mean, Sinclaire, you said that you got it with one. So like, it clearly doesn't matter.
Thank you for that. I'm sure that was extremely helpful, because that's a question that does come up a lot, just how much do I have to publish, et cetera. We have a couple questions that are more about resources that you may have consulted to find the right programs to apply to. So we have an attendee who says that they've got sort of a lack of mentorship and they're struggling to really find the right programs to apply for. And we have another attendee who's just curious what resources that you use to learn about things like the fellowship. So any resources or websites or any of that you have to recommend to these attendees.
So I think that in terms of mentorship, Luma is a program that is out there and also a great resource where you can talk to people and learn about a lot of different resources. I think if you have the opportunity to go to NSBP and meet people there, that, I mean, NSBP is great because as a student you pay for registration and they pay for the rest of the thing. So if you can get your advisor to pay for the registration or someone at your school to pay for that, then you can get there. And I mostly found out things through, well, Caprice Phillips. So she was funneling me things, but I think that finding people to tell you those things, but also I found that X, I hate calling it X, but X has a, you know, if you're following people that are pretty active on there, they'll also advertise these things. You just have to look. So there's different programs depending on the subfield that you're in. And yeah, to be honest with you, if you want to send me an email and tell me your subfield, I'm happy to send you an email of all the things that I think would be helpful or resources that I know of. But yeah, I'm not sure of a compiled list.
Yeah, I mean, for postdocs specifically, the AAS job register is where everyone posts their official, you know, call, right? And so it's just like to peruse through that and get a sense of what's out there and all the different institutions and, you know, worldwide too, not just in the US. Although, yes, it's mostly focused in US and Western Europe. But that's where all the official announcements. So if you're early on and you can just like go through that list and get a sense of all the different things and how they're worded and what they're looking for in those applications.
Yeah, not much else to add other than I use the exact same resources that both of them just said. Although there are a couple of compiled lists online, they're all different. Like they don't all have the same stuff. So if you just look up like graduate student internships, astronomy, you'll find a bunch of different things in addition to leaning on your community and social media. That was how I found everything. I also didn't really have great mentorship until like the end of my PhD. So it was a lot of Googling and poking around on websites and paying attention on social media and trying to bookmark things. So I definitely encourage checking that out. I think there's like just a quick note. I think UMD actually has a really good, last I checked, they had a really good comprehensive list of graduate student fellowships and internships. Theirs was the longest, if I recall. Definitely check that out.
Amazing. Thank you. We've got a couple folks who want to know more about maybe tips for how you chose either the institution, like where to take your postdoc, or the kind of research that you wanted to do. So maybe there's so many choices, and maybe they just want some tips on how to narrow down either where to go or what to study.
I got some great advice when I was going to apply from a couple of different people. Basically saying that, first of all, you should probably rank what's important to you. So, as a person, like what is going to help you thrive as a person, whatever that is, whether that's, geographical location for whatever reason, or, you know, whatever that may be for you. And then from there, kind of go and see, what communities you think you're going to thrive in, like at those locations. And if you can, visit those places or try to talk to those people and find out information about those places before you go ahead and say, this is my top choice, because in theory it might sound great, but once you talk to some people that were postdocs there, they might not like it. And so one of the things that I did is I actually reached out to people that had postdocs there. Some of them I had no connections with. I was just like, hi, I just, I'm thinking about coming here, or, I got an offer for this place. And so I'd like to, um, you know, hear about this place. And most of the time, actually, I think every single person that I emailed back. So I think that it's a pretty, I don't know. I feel like most people are happy to email back and tell you their experiences with the places, especially if they had a bad experience. They will be like, let me tell you. And then, so I would highly recommend, if you can't go there and talk to people in person, at least email the postdocs, and specifically the postdocs, because they're going to have a different view of things than perhaps grad students there, because there were some places that I emailed where the grad students that I knew there loved it, and then the postdocs were like, no, they throw everything on us and blah, 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 blah. And so it's not so great. So I would recommend that. And also, yeah, just the biggest thing for me was, where am I going to be happiest and where am I going to do the best work at? Because like I said, someone told me a long time ago, in actually choosing grad school, that you should go where you think you're going to be the happiest as a person, because that's where you're going to do your best work.
Yeah, Nicole Cabrera Salazar has this like Twitter thread from like pre-COVID times that I still share with, especially it's for undergrads applying to grad school, but it's the same thing for postdoc life. And it's like, it's a series of questions you might want to ask yourself about what you need to be happy as a human. So like an example would be like, do you need access, like quick access to an airport so you can go visit your family all the time? I had a student who is an avid cumbia dancer, and that was really important to her. And she was between two different schools, one in a major city and one not, and the one not didn't have any dancing. And that was really important to her, and that was where she needed to go to thrive and have like outside community and get her passions met. I would say that's definitely what I did. I looked for a place, a city that I thought I would enjoy, a supportive mentor. I will say, similar to what Kiersten said, postdocs, grad students are definitely probably the most abused, but postdocs are kind of the most ignored. You're just so isolated, and it's very rare to find like a strong postdoc community. And part of that is, it's very transient. Some people come in and out in a year. People at very different ages and stages, have different interests. And as you climb the ladder, it's true, there's less and less of us. and less people like us. And so it just the population that you get to like hang out with and interact with becomes smaller and smaller. So definitely, yeah, I would recommend also emailing the postdocs, the senior grad students, and really seeing how their experience has been.
Yeah, for UMass was honestly not even on my radar really until I was fortunate enough to have a PhD advisor who I really trusted and felt had my best interest at heart. And she is pretty close with my now current advisor and was like, you should reach out to this person. I think y'all would get along well and it'd be good. And so then I emailed her and set up a Zoom and we chatted for like an hour just to like get a feel for, do we get along? And that was kind of that really. So it was fairly straightforward for me, but again, needing someone who I knew was in my corner who could connect me with more people was, I don't know where I'd be without that for my whole career, really. Yeah.
Okay, Michael, you should be able to speak now. Michael asked one of the questions about knowing what you want to do, like research-wise.
Hello?
We hear you.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't expecting to speak. Oh yeah, I just asked I was just wondering like how do you guys choose what you want to do? I'm an undergrad right now and like I have no idea what I'm gonna do after grad. Like I'm an astrophysics major. I know I want to do something related to space, but like how did you like, oh that's super cool subject. Like I'm gonna go into I'm gonna choose that.
I didn't know I'd be studying the thing I was studying. I was lucky to have a couple of research experiences prior to try things out. And then I found what I really liked. Thing is a lot of people come into grad school and have an idea of what they want to work on. I understand that's not what you're asking, but a lot of people do. And they prioritize that over the mentoring relationship that they're going to receive if they choose that research path. Because they think they're destined to study galaxies no matter what, and then they end up maybe in a toxic relationship. And I kind of wish I explored other research more rather than doubling down, because I didn't end up in a great advising relationship, but I was doubling down because that's what I wanted to do. It was the thing that excited me. It was the thing that I genuinely thought about outside of work. It was the thing I enjoyed learning about. But I would say it's becoming more and more common. Maybe other people can comment on this. More and more departments allow you to rotate actually in your first or second year to try different things out before you commit. So if you really think that that's something that you need, definitely pay attention and look for departments that do that. And also, when you are applying, still lean on your strengths. So I know people who've applied to grad school leaning on their strengths as a plasma physicist, for example, but knowing in the back of their mind that they're going to switch to astronomy, but they need to get their foot in the door and they need to demonstrate that they have the skills to do that. So their application focused on the skills and the research experiences that they had. And then once they got in, they were able to spend a year exploring astronomy in different areas and find what excited them.
Yeah, I did something similar actually. I leaned on because what I did in undergrad was galaxies. So I leaned on that and clearly I'm not doing galaxies anymore. So
You left us.
yeah. But I think that what I did was I focused on I had heard that the mentor-mentee relationship is probably the most important. I didn't take that to heart. So I wish I had have taken it to heart a bit more. But I've been lucky enough to find some other great advisors along the way. But one of the things that I was really thinking about was what do I enjoy about research? Is it specifically that topic? is it this topic or nothing? Or do I enjoy the process of, coding? Or do I like dealing with data? Or do I like doing things with theory and, understanding how these nitty-gritty details of the math and all of the physics work? Or, what exactly is it that I like about it? And for me, I knew that I found rocks and really interesting. I took a geology class in college, and I was like, I like rocks, and I think exoplanets sound cool, and that's kind of how I chose it. I didn't think too hard about it, and the first year project that was offered to me was very heavy on coding, and I knew that I liked coding, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do this, and it sounds cool. But also I made sure to choose a location in a department that had people in a whole bunch of different that had a whole bunch of different areas of research. So just like Arianna was saying, some departments, they only focus on, one or two things. So if you think that in the back of your head, perhaps I might be interested in exoplanets, but this school doesn't have anything like that. So later on, even if you decide that whatever you initially thought you would want to do, you don't have that option. So I would say that if you are not like, this is my absolute calling, and even if you are, sometimes it's best to be like, okay, well, what exactly do I enjoy about the process? And oftentimes, at least for me, I found that I could probably work in a couple of different topics and also be just as happy by doing the same sort of things that I'm currently doing now, which is I either deal with large data sets and programming and that sort of thing, or I'm understanding the nitty-gritty details and looking at like the physics and making these simulations run. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I've stayed in galaxies the whole time since undergrad. I've jumped around a bit, like lower redshift to high redshift. But yeah, never tried to dip my toe in the stars or exoplanet world. But I will say I made sure to expose myself to all of those topics to like make sure that I wanted to stick with galaxies. So in undergrad and then grad school, that meant attending every single colloquium, even if it wasn't related to the current research I was doing. A lot of people will check out from those and not go to the ones that are directly tied to their research. I strongly disagree with that. You can learn so much from other fields, and for your own knowledge of what you like and what you're interested in, if you're at an institution that has those talks, try to go to them. If you're not at an institution that has those talks, there are many places that post their talks to YouTube. So I know Carnegie Observatories, for example, posts all of their invited colloquium talks onto YouTube. So you can do a lot of work on your own of, getting that exposure and getting a sense. And maybe you only watch the first 10 minutes, right? Because that's the intro and that's really what you need. But just to get a sense of what all is out there and what's possible, I think that can be a useful route.
Thank you all for those answers. Michael, I hope that was helpful. So I'm going to acknowledge a question. We are not going to have time to answer it because it's a super broad question, but it's a wonderful question that I do want to acknowledge. So we have an attendee that asked, you've all described your past that clearly makes you the great scientist that you are now. Don't you feel that going to top institutions perpetuates the rich get richer idea? How do we break the spiral and give other institutions such as Howard or HBCUs the chance to have a fellow, and is it worth it? So to whoever asked that question, I want to say thank you for asking that. That's really central, I think, to Black and Astro's mission and purpose. And I'm gonna take that one back to the team and thinking about future panels, future Black Space Weeks in the future. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. So with that, I would like to thank the panelists so much for this. Thank all the attendees for coming. There was some serious knowledge dropped here, y'all. I really hope you're able to reach up and get your blessing because things were said that were so, so useful. I hope everybody took notes, but if you didn't, it'll be up on our YouTube after Black Space Week. Thank you again, panelists, attendees, and looking forward to the rest of Black Space Week. This is just a start. This is just Monday. We still got tons of stuff to go. Join us for the rest of the week. Thank y'all. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye y'all.
Yeah, it was nice chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm.